This is why I run when I'm not here. Whatever we were working.
What's this today? Today is like,
Recent one.
Thursday? Say Thursday the seventh?
Yep.
Look at that, Thursday, May 7th, 2026, House Transportation, here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We have Ledge Council here to update us on the current status of the T-bill. And then we're going to S326 to look at, we're not looking at a vote, but we're looking at those three, there's three open sections. I'd like to make some progress on those three. We have a hard stop for Damien and our Ledge Council at 4:30. So we'll go quickly, but everybody will have their chances.
So we don't have the bill posted yet.
I'm posting it right now.
Okay.
Yep. And just to be fair, this is the version that we were looking at. Draft 2.1, which we were looking at the other day. We didn't finish it. So
And you want to tell us what's T-bill in the Senate and then all that's coming up and whatnot?
sure. So the Senate did not get to the T-bill this morning. The debate on the Burlington the gun control legislation that took up quite a bit of time. They got late enough in the day that they had to adjourn so that their afternoon committees could meet. So T-bill should be up for second reading tomorrow with third reading on Tuesday. As it currently stands, there is a substitute amendment for the Senate Finance Amendment. So the Finance Amendment had originally proposed to delete all of the sections expanding the MBUF after the initial 2027 rollout to EVs. The substitute amendment would delete the 2031 expansion to all light-duty vehicles. And for the 2029 expansion, it would limit it to hybrids only. So plug-in hybrids and mild hybrids. But internal combustion engine vehicles would be left out of the 2029 expansion under the Senate finance model. There are a few other minor tweaks in there, but that's kind of the headline of the change there. So assuming that passes, the big differences between the House and the Senate on the MBUF, both bodies are rolling out to EVs in 2027. The House has one payment option, which is at the end of the year. The Senate has 4 payment options. An estimated payment option, a pay at the end of the year, pay-as-you-go model, and then a flat rate option. And it's also capped for the first 2 years at $178, which for those of you keeping track of the current infrastructure fee for EVs is equal to your 2-year EV infrastructure fee right now. And that's where that number came from. And then in 2029, it would expand to hybrids. The thinking being that one, this allows them to leverage the federal funding that they currently have to help expand the IT system and make the upgrades necessary to begin rolling it out to a wider set of vehicles. And 2, because hybrid vehicles after EVs are the vehicles that pay the least per mile on average of the vehicles on the roadway. So this would bring them closer to equivalency, or bring them to equivalency with sort of the average mileage for internal combustion engines. There are still high efficiency internal combustion engines that will be paying less. And then there are heavier duty and lower efficiency, whether they're older or higher power internal combustion vehicles, that will be paying quite a bit more in gas tax. There is a fuel tax credit to ensure that the hybrid owners don't end up getting double taxed. The math is pretty simple once you get over the initial bump of trying to figure out how it comes together. But if it's simple enough that with about a minute, I could give you a rough bill for whatever mileage, if you know the MPG for the car. So, and I can do it pretty quick. So it's not complicated math. It's not like your income taxes. So that's the highlight there. The Senate is taking the House's purchase and use tax proposal, the Senate transportation proposal that was the governor's recommend is being taken out. There were some things that got stripped out of the Senate T-bill that are in the big bill coming over from the Senate. So that'll be in the budget conference, not the T-bill conference.
You said they took the House version, but it's not necessarily the House version because they didn't approve the rooms finance.
So whatever they did in their miscellaneous tax bill,
Yeah.
they took out the governor's rec, which without meals and rooms that was in the T-bill, or they're going to. And they're going with what's in the miscellaneous tax bill from the
So
Senate.
that's, now I'm just saying that's different from what we got. So we had the rooms, meals, the complicated thing.
Right, so it's been described to me that they like the House construct better than the governor's recommends, so they went in that direction. I don't know all the details. So,
And Logan's on cue for as soon as it does get, we can find a bill to come in and tell us.
And the MBUF for hybrids, that's at 0.043 too.
0.014, 1.4 cents per mile,
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
minus a credit,
Yeah.
minus a fuel tax credit. So, yeah, we figured it out for Senator Chittenden's hybrid minivan, which has a combined fuel economy of 35 miles per gallon. So I don't want to spoil his floor report though. But when we come back with a report, I can break down the dollars. He'll pay more than he's currently paying now, but we figured out exactly how it'll break down. And it's what the percentage of the bill will actually be, and the majority of his MBUF will be subtracted from the fuel tax he's already paying, or by the fuel tax he's already paying.
Okay, so we're gonna, real quick. Go ahead, Representative.
So what was the discussion about adding the other vehicles? Just being postponed until.
There were a number of concerns in the finance committee around adding the other vehicles. There were some concerns that it was too much too soon before they have a chance to start figuring out the kinks. There were also concerns from folks who were thinking about, so light duty vehicle cutoff is 10,000 for your gross vehicle weight rating. But there are a lot of pickup trucks that are used by contractors and other folks who may just have a pickup truck where within the same basic model, one can be at 9,500 and one can be at 10,200. So one would be subject to a capped amount and the other would be paying the full fuel tax. And so there were concerns about fairness that Senator Matos raised there. And just citing that there are a number of pickups in that sort of 9,000 to 12,000 GVWR range that get similar mileage, are used for similar purposes, but are arbitrarily being assigned to one group or the other. And so he was concerned about not wanting to create those problems without the legislature having more time to see how the program works, to figure things out, and then to think about whether that's the direction they want to go in with those vehicles. So that was where finance was coming down. So.
On S-326.
Yes.
And I'm not sure exactly where you left off before, but I know we still haven't thumbs up the personal flotation device. And there is a potential amendment or proposed change.
We'll put it there in a second.
Section will hold the motorcycle piece and the inspection piece we got to talk about. And was that it? That was it.
Oh, yeah.
And Chloe's potentially, Chloe's representative, we'll be back in the committee. So pick one and let's see. Well, this is did we get through the public outreach? Because we heard the testimony that Department of Motor Vehicles doesn't want this assignment. They don't do voting and accesses and ramps. we wanted some level of public outreach. We did change it from the original. We're not requiring signs and whatnot. We're just requiring them to start a public outreach, but DMV is pretty clear this is not their area.
So,
Both guy from the Department of Public Safety seems to be the next spot, but I guess I'm looking for a comment on that.
right, so the question that I have written down here is, should Department of Motor Vehicles be moved down to the in consultation with list? And the lead on developing the public education and outreach be the Department of Public Safety. So I know you guys have limited time on this. And so that's kind of the question at this point. Do you want to leave DMV and Department of Public Safety as the dual lead, or designate Department of Public Safety as the lead and just have them consult with DMV, who does, they do have some limited responsibilities with respect to boats, but obviously their area of expertise is really more motor vehicles.
Representative White?
Can you remind me what page we're on?
I'm sorry, this is page 23.
Thank you. And then other question is, the original statute on voting, does that fall under DMV rules, or does that fall under Department of Public Safety?
See.
Maybe that would be a good place for us to start to figure out who should own it.
So, as far as collecting fees, the registration fees are filed with the Department of Motor Vehicles. The boating safety education, let's just see here. Boating safety education is the Department of Public Safety.
Chapters.
That is, here, I'll just share it with you. It's 23 VSA 3305B. So this is the boating safety education here section. And it provides that the Department of Public Safety shall adopt rules that establish criteria for a course of instruction in boating safety education, administer a verbal test when appropriate, coordinate a statewide program of boating safety instruction, etc. So registration seems to lie with DMV, boating safety lies with DPS.
All right, good enough for me. Move this along. Take out Department of Motor Vehicle, put them down in consultation. The public safety has taken the lead.
Thank you. Thank you. Hold on.
Comments?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And, you know, the Department of Motor Vehicles, they could send out something when you get your registration. They could put stuff on their website. So it seems like they could do some education. It should be fairly easy.
We had the voting guy handed out his card to everybody when he was responsible for, where did he come from?
Department of Public Safety.
It was,
Yeah.
Does anybody have any idea what his name was? Because I was just asking that question from some other areas in the ether, and I'm not sure.
Al Johnson, voting law administrator
For
There you go, State of Vermont State Police Marine Division.
State Police Marine Division.
They're within the Department of Public Safety. Yeah.
Would you like a swing?
Bill, I want to email that second to him, and just so he's aware of it. If he has a last minute deal, he can change it between now and the time we
get down 5 o'clock.
between now and between now and whenever, or if we had to make a change at some point.
Okay.
So I'll email it to him and get his comment. That's what I.
Yeah, I'll get you updated language that you can send to him tonight.
Find it?
Okay. As soon as Damien, you've got it, send it to the committee assistant. She's gonna send it to them. Make sure they're aware of it. If they have a comment, they'll get it as quickly as they can. We're gonna move forward. If I'm gonna ask for a thumbs up on this section with that change proposed by the chair. Everybody agree? That's cool. All right. In the motorcycle, what was originally section 29, excessive noise in motorcycles. Representative Keiser worked with our ledge council on potential change. I don't know that it got emailed out or not.
I don't think anybody
All
saw
right,
it.
so then we need to email that out to everybody so we can discuss that tomorrow morning. If you want to
I'm
give
gonna
us
give you a short
a,
list.
give us an overview.
Yes, very short list. My phrase was, it's, the current the current, language is derivative. In other words, it goes to a second level instead of what the actual character is. The stamp does not guarantee that the, motorcycle is baffled. In other words, what I'm thinking of is that we'd want a physical, indication that muffler is okay, not just a stamp on it. The other part of it is that that sometimes these stamps, they're stamped, so they may be rotated inwards, so you'd have to take it apart. So we got testimony from the fellow from Harley Davidson that it would cost anywhere from 1 to 2 hours more. So it's going to increase the cost of a vehicle inspection by anywhere from $70 to $150. So I thought that probably what you wanted to do is, and frankly, it falls on the technician or the enforcement officer. I think it's pretty obvious if a vehicle, if their muffler isn't appropriate, and you should be able, as a professional, know that. So that's what I failed.
Be just like a visual inspection.
Yeah, well, yes, in fact, it would be, but I haven't got the language in front of me, Molly.
Do you want me to send it out to everyone?
We're not gonna be able to expect them to comment on the 5 minutes, but yes, yes, I wanna.
Yeah, that was the intention. Yeah,
Okay, I just sent it to the committee so you can review it tonight. Yeah, we can speak more to that language in the morning. But it looks more at the specific characteristics of the exhaust. It expressly prohibits things like cutouts and straight pipes, but does not require the exhaust to have the stamp. It does require it to have intact baffles, et cetera, which is already an inspection requirement. So if you have a motorcycle currently and you go in there with removed baffles or baffles that have been drilled out or something like that, it's going to fail inspection anyway if they can see that. So.
What about a brand new muffler that you can buy that is designed to be loud?
well, that's the idea, is that the enforcement, either the enforcement officer or the person that is inspecting it would know that you, I mean, if you got 100 decibels, you know
Oh,
that,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
I
and
don't
to
disagree.
Kate's, yeah, but the Kate, and I'm not being disagreeing,
Yeah.
but and to Kate's point, you could wear one on your wrist and
I mean, I don't think the stamp, but I was hopeful the stamp would be a good way to do it, and I would love to do it for vehicles and motorcycles, but, you know, I don't think it's gonna work. I think the problem is nobody's really enforcing it, or people aren't getting inspections, so adding a little more detail to it, I think, is helpful. So I appreciate it.
I'd like to emphasize the situation, enforce that the rules are, highlight that the rule is there and that it needs to be in that direction without going to necessarily removing the whole thing. In other words, emphasizing it should fail when it should fail. And I think that I agree with what you're saying. Enforcement's an issue we've been discussing all along. So Representative Keys was trying to work on something that is somewhere between what we heard and what might help emphasize the situation, emphasize the concern, and remind that in effect what the rules are. That's the sort of effort. We're going to send it around. right? And we'll talk about it in the morning.
It's been sent out. The next piece in the bill that we had,
I'm sorry, keep
that
going.
we had not gone over yet. This is for the limited use specialty vehicles.
Sorry, I thought we did. Yep.
This just adds in, I'm showing you where I've added in the language you required. Where you would require a visual emissions inspection for those vehicles, but not an OBD systems inspection. And this will capture the vehicles that are, it essentially requires everyone to be able to, or the inspection mechanic to be able to visually confirm that there is a working exhaust system. And it's not a straight pipe or cutouts or something like that. That would bypass the catalytic converter, et cetera. But it doesn't require an OBD systems inspection, which means that for vehicles where they're a restoration and modification vehicle, or it's a kit car using old components that predate the OBD systems, you don't have to worry about differentiating between those. There are some vehicles where they take older parts and mix them with the new parts, and you come out with the final vehicle. Also in this category of vehicles that cost more than my house. There we are. All right. Was that too much editorializing? I hope not. So it's a factual statement.
That guy that was the advocate that was here, just to make sure that I thought we did, but anyway. I'm sorry?
Thumbs up. You
Yes, we're asking if we're thumbs up or not on this piece.
All right, section 25 is good. Section 26, there was the question that the vice chair had raised about clarifying so that you are not preventing the Vermont Strong license plates from being used. So adding the words except as otherwise provided by law. Vermont Strong license plates by law are permitted to be placed over your license plate. So we don't have a conflict there. And then changing the coloring, tinting, or changing language so that it's a person shall not color, tint, or change. So that if you do have a license plate, there's another bad run of Vermont license plates that changes its color on its own. The person will not be liable for that. Clarification of the section numbers here with a correction that was made from the original language in Representative Booton's bill. This is page 31. This is the license plates, and this relates to the temporary plates. In Representative Booton's bill, section 458 had been inadvertently struck, should be kept in because that relates to the dealers issuing a temporary plate when you buy a new vehicle. Then the repeal here, the addition of the language from Representative Booton's bill, repealing the home issuance of the paper plates, just showing you where it was added in. I think you already thumbs this up. And then the motorcycle exhaust requirements, and that's it.
Did we ever do the original license plate covering? That we don't recall. I don't know. I have a note that we thumbs up what was originally section 28, tinting and putting a window cover over the license plate. I know we talked about it. I don't remember there being a problem with it, but we did not. I want to make sure, can we go to that? What was the original section 28? And what it is now? I don't know what section it is now. That right there.
Yeah.
What number is it now?
This is section 26 now.
Okay, I don't show that. Is there a committee concern or anybody on this issue? I don't recall. I don't have a note that we thumbs it up. I don't know if there was I don't recall any concerns about it, but I want to make sure you have a chance to say it. You don't have to be rushed. We will go through whatever you have to, but if there is a willingness to thumbs up this issue related to the covering of the license plate so you can't see it, intentionally trying to, I don't remember exactly how we changed the wording, but we did make an adjustment. Personnel not, Shall not color, tint, or change in any manner.
That's entirely unexcused.
Yeah.
Thumbs,
Yeah.
thumbs it up on that, everybody? Okay, well, I appreciate that. I didn't have that done. I didn't even have it in my notes as not done, but that's all right. And that leaves us with the motorcycle noise for tomorrow morning. Let's talk about whether, Damien, you got a hard stop? You gotta go. You don't really have to.
Yeah, I got about,
Before we can.
I can push another 5 minutes if,
Vehicle inspections.
Yep.
Changes to the vehicle inspection piece. I'm not sure if you can put up or not put up, but we're talking about was originally section 24. Inspection manual changes outlined by the DMV to try to lessen the financial burden on Vermonters while keeping the focus on safety. That's what we heard through the pieces, from headlight adjustments and things that were removed to adjustments. There was also the discussion about using rulemaking and not rulemaking. I feel pretty strongly that we asked them to do, and we told our fellow members that we were going to come back and change the inspection piece. So I'm not inclined to get into a huge argument about the rules or not the rules, because that floor would make it for a very difficult presentation, but we can go into that. I want to know if there's other work or ideas about more we should change in the recommendation. So that's sort of a two-part, there's two parts to that, how we implement it and what we're implementing for changes.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not for doing an emergency rule. I mean, we did ask them to do something. They could have done these rules 6 months ago and they'd be in place. And I'm uncomfortable choosing which rules we're gonna have them do. I think they should go through a public process of, are backup lights important? And a couple of those other things. So, they have a process for changing the inspection. It should be a public process. They go through the process, and I'm all for changing for safety things. It's hard for me to decide that these are the right ones to change. And some of them I don't feel comfortable saying they're the right ones. And I understand there's a process later on that they have to go through, but once they make the change, it becomes much more innocent. That's my opinion.
Representative.
I would agree. I don't think this constitutes an emergency. So, and for all the reasons that Representative Pett said. But it's true. I agree with the changing, the requirements to reflect just safety. But we'll see what they come up with.
Well, I would certainly say that they are the organization responsible, and we asked them to go through and reduce it. And this is what they came back for recommendation after being a lot of intent from us last year. So I can certainly understand where we're at, but I feel that we really put the entire body on notice last year that we were going to come back with changes, and we told the DMV to come back with changes. And this is what they're recommending. I acknowledge that the testimony and the presentation left me with some level of less than enthusiastic, maybe not support on some of them, but I'm pretty certain that we made a commitment to the body, and I think we have to move forward on that. If that's not the sentiment of the entire committee, I certainly will get down to that, but I am, that's where we're at. So I think it's both sides of but there's probably other sides, but that's, the sides of where we're at. But Representative White?
I am, for the most part, in agreement with Representatives Burke and Pouch. On the one hand, I feel uncomfortable about the use of emergency for this. It doesn't feel like an emergency. I do appreciate the agency's attempt to move quickly, but coupled with that is the proposal of changes that we were taken through with the DMV, and I'm really uncomfortable with some of the changes. The brake lights, like not requiring rear brake lights, was one thing that made me very uncomfortable. Same with windshield wipers that are faulty, or those seem to be a safety. So, and again, I'm not the expert here, but I think it argues to go through a process that has been set so that these decisions can be made with information and the right decisions are being made about how we amend the inspection process.
And I would still have to all come back and say that we heard in the testimony that emergency is a weird term because we use it on all kinds of, alleged counsel, we use it on all kinds of things that are not emergency. So it is the word that's used, but it's not what is really a case of some kind of, it's a process as opposed to in the case it wasn't an actual emergency. I do believe that's the word, but that's not what
we
they.
need to go.
Yeah, no, this, you don't have to be here for the search, but you could, unless you want to clarify on that side of it. And then as far as the expertise and the outreach, they testified that they did outreach to inspection stations, the people that manage the inspection stations, they're the people that recommend the changes. These are the experts in what it is. So I hear what you're saying. I'm obviously on another view of it, but primarily driven by what the promises that we've made as a committee. But I do believe that the experts that run the program are the ones that recommended the changes. You're up, Representative Thomason, and Representative Casey is after that.
I would support the emergency rulemaking process for this. I think that the affordability needs and this kind of constant concern that so many families have around facing an inspection and having to deal with hundreds of dollars of repairs or not being able to use their vehicle for critical household purposes kind of constitutes an emergency. And also the examples that we heard of other emergency rulemaking processes weren't straightforwardly the definition of an emergency in other cases. I think I also made the point last week, and I still really believe that also has some benefits in terms of actually putting forward those new procedures in front of mechanics, in front of car owners and people so that people can more, I think, deeply engage with those changes. And if they have concerns about them, offer feedback through the rulemaking process. And sometimes I think it's challenging for people to engage in the rulemaking processes if they're not immediately presented with the reality of what those changes would mean. So I think that this is a case where we can go forward with emergency rulemaking. I would look forward to hopefully a robust amount of feedback on the changes that could then lead to further changes after the end of that close of the rulemaking process. And I also am not really comfortable with proposing any particular changes to what the DMV proposed. I think they have expertise, the mechanics have expertise who they garnered feedback from. So that's my opinion on it. Right.
Representative Casey, you're up.
I'm okay moving forward with their recommendations, but I will say one thing, they did not say brake lights.
Backup lights and the license.
Oh, pardon me. I missed that.
Sorry.
They did say backup lights and they did say license plate lights. So, are you all set? Jim? Representative Casey? It's an informal day today.
I would just remember that it was fail or advisory. They were always going to advise people that this is thus and such. And if you can't afford it, it would say, thank you very much. I'll go without windshield wipers. That makes no sense. But whatever. But I would say, yeah, please listen to windshield wipers. But I think that you're talking a very small section that might take advisory response to that. Thanks. I'm good.
Anybody else want to weigh in on this? I think I would ask at this point, then I guess we're gonna, but it would be other sections just like that. Are we gonna, for those of you with a thumbs up the section, thumbs up, and those that would not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 1, 2, 3. So we'll advise that you put that section in. I appreciate feedback, and I think you'll make sure that our full report reflects in this case a rarity that this committee did not come to a full consensus. That's not the vote on the bill, but I do think that we can certainly make sure there's understood of concerns in this area, and there will be an opportunity through public feedback, because they have to go through that process to still make further changes. The motorcycle piece is the last piece left. I would ask you to read Representative Keiser's piece, or we'll figure out where we are. So unless, well, then there is time after that. I want to vote on the bill tomorrow morning. I want to settle up the motorcycle. And then I want to go over the amendment that was from Representative Southworth has also now got a piece that Representative Thomason has added, or either adding to it or running separately, depending on what the best approach might be. And so,
This is prior to floor.
I'm sorry,
This is prior to floor.
prior
Yeah,
to
yeah,
floor.
yeah.
Yes.
Avoiding that, well, I mean, that was a plan.
An amendment for this, so.
No, the bill, voting on the bill, our expectations, so.
The expectation is to vote on the bill tomorrow morning.
After floor or before?
Before floor, I'm sorry. Oh, we need to vote on it before floor.
Floor.
Speaker would prefer that we vote on it tomorrow morning.
Or is that 9:30?
Time then.
So that's the last here.
Question could be, I guess, on how much you feel that we trade at 9:30, we would probably need to be here at 8:30, just to be sure that everybody's got something to say. Is that gonna be workable for everybody? for 8:30?
Well, I mean, it's workable, but you remember, this has to go through, just because we voted out, it doesn't go right to the floor, it's gotta go through proofreading and that. How long did that take last time?
Oh.
Yeah, but I think the speaker can actually, does it have to go to another committee?
We'll have to.
It does, but before she can refer it, because that's what happened the last time, it needs to get a bill number, and they need to proofread it, and it needs to get signed the bill number. It does have, so maybe it is a different process. I'm just trying to think, last time.
It's been prior to its notice on the calendar.
Yeah, all right, well, we gotta make sure on that.
And rules.
We're amending
Yeah.
the sentence. We're
Yes,
we're not, it's not. a new-
We're off
All
our
right.
amendment.
So maybe it's a different process, yeah.
We're offering an amendment to S 326
Yeah.
with a couple of sections. What we would vote on, the discussion about whether there would be an amendment, a floor amendment would have to happen after the vote. And we could also do that later in the day or on Tuesday.
So we're
Is
gonna,
that-
Yeah, when it's up, I mean, this part won't be up until.
so we're gonna make a decision tomorrow morning about Chris's amendment too, right?
Yes, tomorrow morning we are deciding on the motorcycle section, motorcycle muffler section, and we are voting on the final version. Wow, that's not good. I'm sorry, because if we do that, he's gotta go back and write what the final version is, or he's gonna have it ready to update and stick it in there. If we make a change on that motorcycle section, I would.
Oh, yeah.
That's either option. right?
No, exactly.
Right, he needs to be able to put it in there.
And I still think it needs to be proofread, but we've got a
Right.
clarification.
But the section on the motorcycle is gonna have both, either plugging it in, or if we make a change, it gets plugged in. Then we vote, and then off we go. Doesn't, and again, you have to go through the whole thing.
Well, it could, but I think how long do you think floor is gonna be? Because she can do it at the end.
It's only-
Oh, I'm saying she can do it at the end of the.
I'm pretty sure that she can do it at the
Yeah.
beginning.
You can do it at the
end.
end, so, okay.
Yeah,
Well, then that takes care of that.
Oh, heck of a lot.
Representative White?
so we might have to stop.
So while things are still in flux,
I did that today, so Taylor House could have 100%. It's been in that office a long time.
several of
All right.
us have brought up the interest in requiring inspections for registration. And knowing that the MBUF is going to be requiring that, is that something that that the committee supports in terms of putting that into this bill as we're talking about different amendments? Some of us have brought up the issue of wanting to require an inspection for a registration, because the MBUF will be requiring that for EVs. And we're hearing about, I don't need to go, but so I'd be in support of that. And I would be perhaps willing to give a thumbs up, not that it matters on the inspection stuff that.
I think just personally, I think we probably get 11-0 vote on that. I mean, I think there's unanimous agreement on syncing those up. There's no doubt, but I think in order to really truly vet that and have the proper people come in, testify and do our due diligence, it's just not gonna happen by tomorrow.
I feel like we've gotten a lot of
I don't think there's probably agreement on certain levels that we need. And until we make our case and get that, it's not gonna be beneficial for us to come back maybe next year to do that. I just don't think, we need to make our case more, and it's not there. Not just be quite honest with you. It's just not there, and so personally, I agree with it. I think the clock's running. I'm trying to get people to come on board with it. That need to come on board. So, yeah.
Representative Pappen?
Yes, especially about people. Details to the inspector.
Good share with everybody.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So is that.
Share.
I just got a car registered the other day. Now I have 15 days to inspect it. That's the paperwork that I got with it.
yeah.
On a new car.
It wasn't a new car. Well,
But new to you.
New to you,
Yeah.
a new purchase.
Okay.
But I would say that, well, originally part of the discussion was we want to be able to re-register your vehicle, or register or re-register your vehicle that you require inspection. Now, we heard from the TMV that that's a quick testimony on that, but you had
Yeah, I
Representative.
mean, we heard from the DMV, specifically the question, is it hard to do this? Because we're talking about doing it for Ambuff. They said, nope, the new system, not a problem at all. And so I was like, well, okay, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, we should be doing this for all the vehicles. It's against the law to go in and register your car if your car has not been inspected within the last year. And we know that's happening. And we know you could stop it. We heard the DMV guy say, well, then people aren't gonna register their car. Well, there's a problem here.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's a mistake. It's wrong to have, some people have to do it and others not have to do it. But,
I'm gonna enforce it.
I
yeah.
further
so-
complicated a little bit in that I have taken over several meetings related to enforcement and traffic stops. And I'm not an expert in transportation, but I'm trying. Other states have a similar rule related to the insurance. This idea that right now that you get to pull over, you get your license, registration, and insurance. Other states, the police do not have to ask that because you can't get registration without insurance. And the insurance companies, because they have a vested interest, anybody that cancels their insurance, they immediately notify
Yeah.
the Department of Motor Vehicles in those states so as to know that when you get pulled over, you don't have insurance. And if we require insurance and we require proof of insurance and we require inspections, I would say that I don't know who's all going to be back for next year and whatnot, but I feel like we're going to do one, we ought to do both. I don't know what the downsides to those are, but a legal change that says, why do we allow these scenarios where people can operate without an inspection, without insurance?
Or registration, really.
And our hammer, or our piece is the registration. I suspect though, if we know we have that many vehicles running around without inspection, do we have any idea how many are running around without insurance? I think, I'm inclined to say that we should really think about tackling both in the future. I don't know if that anybody else has thought, I thought that, I was like, wow, you mean this, you get a card for inspection or for insurance, people hold it in their car forever, or you buy it the first year, you make one payment and you cancel your insurance and that card's good for a whole year. Sorry, I'm
I was just gonna, this is bringing something up. Does anybody remember Peter Diamond's Joe?
I remember that.
He never did.
My car. And he was like, he refused, when the laws changed and he had to get insurance, he refused to do it. And I believe that he maybe went to court, I don't remember exactly, I just remember it was a big issue and he got stopped and he didn't have insurance and he wouldn't buy insurance and he thought it was maybe unconstitutional. Remember?
Yes, I do.
It's like kind of vague in my memory, but
He often went off the rails about insignificant things.
well, yeah, and like having a junkyard in his house, I mean, that was just, he was so antisocial,
Yes.
but he was supposed to be such a progressive person. Anyway,
Yeah.
he did help some people with legal advice, but he
Yeah,
didn't actually have a, I don't think he ever
That's also funny.
passed the bar. Anyway.
Yeah, okay. He was.
Tomorrow
Whatever.
morning, 8:30.
8:30.
8:30 tomorrow
tomorrow.
morning. Thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed the learning opportunity today.